How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Project Luna season number 2. I am Gedster, and joining me is my new friend Chaka. How you doing today?
I'm doing all right. I'm excited to get in Project Luna. This is my first time casting for Project Luna. Not my first time being in like the women's siege scene. I can't remember what the other tournament was before that, but I was especially considering the teams that we're casting and how different they are in terms of their overall form coming into season.
And yeah, as you said, this is going to be the first match of the day is going to be a pretty interesting and telling one, because we are going to be looking at Overtake versus Sway. Now, Sway was a team that I had my eye on going into this one. Including the core. Meanwhile, on the other side of the coin, Overtake, we are looking at Thrill, Fawn, Mine, Metronome, Rot, and the players I'm really looking at here are Thrill and Mine, two players who did very, very well in the first season of Project Luna, who I fully expect will be doing very well here as well.
Yeah, also there's like Sierra on that team too, who's kind of like well known with like the siege scene, and as you mentioned, Mine on that Overtake Fem team is also somebody again who's like really well known in the siege comp scene, especially because she plays with a bunch of comp players too, and she just has that comp experience. This is not like one of her first times even playing comp.
Right.
She studies siege like she knows siege inside and out on a tactical level, and she has a ton of experience with leadership in teams. So this will be a very interesting game to watch from the Sway's perspective.
On that wildcard Queens roster that won Project Luna Season 1 and so many other women's events, because, I mean, that's just got to be one of the best women's siege rosters we've seen in a very, very long time. And obviously, they've been scattered to the winds now, so that's going to be something to look out for as well. The matchup between these two former teammates who used to dominate the scene and now are looking to find their own individual paths. And I'm very curious to see how this one pans out.
Yeah, and actually, just speaking about like map pick and bans, the map that we're actually going to be going to for our BO1 today is going to be Fortress, which I think is quite interesting. Ooh. Yeah, to be honest, when I was trying to like look back on like map stats for both teams, it's limited because we're on OPL, and OPL in a way, in a negative way, if I have to give some criticism to the site, is the fact that it just doesn't give any information statistically on teams, even though they log in like map picks and bans. I know that Sway banned it like at one point during Project Luna Season 2. But yeah, Fortress is just an interesting map, obviously, because it's one of the newer maps in the map pool. And in my own opinion, it kind of resembles what Border is supposed to be. It's supposed to be this like really attacker side of the map, especially with how like small it is, like internally and externally too. It just seems like you can get like a ton of space just from being outside of the map. But that's not really been the case ever since it's been introduced into the map pool as like the new map that's replacing Skyscraper. It's totally defender sided. It had like I think a crazy 60% like defensive win rate during SI 2026. Which is ridiculous because that kind of like mirrors what Consulates had, what Skyscraper had before it got replaced. So it's a really defender-sided map, and I guess if you're a Sway fan specifically, that's good news for you because they actually do start off on that defensive fortress.
That is interesting as well. I am very excited to see this one play out because I mean, as you said, like I think SI was the first tournament it was technically legal for at a tier 1 level. And Fortress is still very new, so it is what's it called? It is growing. The map is growing as we speak in terms of like people understanding how to play it and understanding how to defend it in particular, which people have gotten pretty solid at. But I don't know, maybe we see some adjustments come out from both of these teams on their attacking halves, and because that's where it really comes down to. If you're playing on a defender-sided map, obviously. Having defense first, great. You want to make sure that you get the early advantage. But once you go over to the attack half, you have to make sure that things don't completely fall apart, and you can capitalize off of the fact that you had that defender's advantage initially. So, yeah. Very exciting prospect going into this one.
Yeah, and I will say as well, there's kind of like a flip side to it as well. Like you can gain confidence starting off on defensive sided maps like Sky and Cons, but also like maybe it's a lot more pressure on you because you're expected to actually get defensive rounds, and then once you go into the opposite side, then there's really no longer that safe cushion of, oh, we have the attack half, because it's like notoriously very hard on Fortress. I think the biggest issue that I've seen with really anybody playing Fortress, not just like anybody that's like tier 2 and below that, is the fact that a lot of the protocols really should be on the attacking side. I think it's a lot more figured out in T1, but still they had some issues with how to really attack Skyscraper because of like the same issues. But also like I think with Fortress or Skyscraper, sorry, I said Fortress. But also the thing with Fortress that's like really, really interesting is that it's a really good map for Denari too. And Denari rarely ever sees a ban rate really on any map because you're mainly prioritizing like hard breach denial, which is really huge on Fortress. You're also prioritizing banning Mira on this map too, because just like Border, Fortress is a really good map for Mira because you can really depend on your teamwork around Mira, just like how you can on Border. And there's a ton of good Mira setups, especially around like second floor. Whether you have a site on second floor or not, she's really good at holding down second floor if that is your main priority, even if you're defending like that kitchen staff room or kitchen cafeteria bomb site.
Yeah, for sure. Very exciting to get into this one. We are still working on making the lobby, so bear with us for a little bit longer. We're waffling for a while, but hey, if there's anything I'm good at, it's waffling. We just keep going. We just keep talking until eventually the lobby is prepared. I think we're still working on even just like getting players into the lobby right now. We might have started a little bit early here, Chuck. Maybe just a tad.
Yeah, I know that's kind of like what a job caster or job role for a caster is supposed to be is yapping, but like I think that's probably going to be a bit too long. So actually, I don't know if you want to go to a break before we get to the game, just because I think we kind of exhausted really all of our talking points for both teams.
We may have at this point. I think maybe we do send it to a quick break because I don't have anything else to say. So we'll be back. Welcome back, everybody. After a brief break, we are finally getting into the match here between Sway and Overtake. As a reminder, we are playing on the newly added and reworked Fortress, and it's time for the ban phase. So, what are you expecting to see here? You were talking about wall denial earlier.
Wall denial is like pretty important for Fortress, but also hard breach is super important. I think it's like hard breach is fun on this map, or even just on any map, really. Like specifically on Fortress, it's really overwhelming to not play with any hard breach on the attacking side. So yeah, Thermite getting banned first makes a ton of sense. He's received an exothermic charge like a while ago, last season or last year. Which makes him really powerful, I guess, or really good, not powerful. And they've also been Ace too, which is like a really good operator to ban as well. Especially when you're trying to clear, say, from Old Tower over when you're attacking the Bathroom and Commander's site, which is the site that Sway are going to go to first.
Attackers need to locate and defuse bombs. Bomb located by attackers. Connection established.
On that relatively new operator. I was talking about this, I think, last time I casted. I was talking about this on the Midwest R6 broadcast, excuse me. But I was bringing up that Denari is a very interesting operator who I don't think has been fully explored yet by the community. And I'm very excited to see where this operator's developments go over time.
Yeah, it kind of just sucks as well for Denari because he's like really good as an operator, but like we're also in a stage with Siege where like defensive operators, it's just so many options in terms of like who you can bring for trap ops, but also who you can bring for area denial too. Like you can bring Fenrir to do the same job, you can bring Ella to do the same job, you can bring a Capcan really to do the same job that a Denari does. Denari, though, does have the plus side of just having a better gun, the same type of gun as Ella, better gun than Capcan, a better gun than Fenrir to some extent too. So that kind of gives him a plus on his side, but also maybe to some people he's a little bit too advanced for them.
That's true. Scorpion, an excellent weapon, has been in the hands of Ella for a very long time, and will continue to be in both Ella's and Denari's hands. Now, just about 2 minutes remaining on the clock here for Overtake to get into this one, and I really like the composition that they've gone with here as well. I love the usage of the Deimos. Basically, no matter what the rest of the team is, I think Deimos is one of the best in the game, but Rennie with a very fast two-piece right off the bat and escaping through a rotate hole that will immediately be reinforced. Rennie putting Sway at an early numbers advantage.
Yeah, and mine was actually supposed to be the one to get the trade off of Fawn's contact as they went to take space on the commander side. Randy just gets exactly what she wants to on that extension that she was holding for right on the long desk doorway, which is she got her opening picks, so she backs off and reinforces bathroom. And now you can kind of play off these bandit charges too. That's not been set down in the farthest wall, which is what Rennie reinforced, which means that Metronome can open up this wall. That kind of gives you access to a good plant spot too, just next to the stall. Really, it's a safe plant spot, but also you can be seen from half wall. At the moment, it seems like Overtake don't really have a good way inside of the site because all of the Habano pellets have been used really, and it's only made a small little hole into the bathroom wall.
Yeah, not a whole lot of options here for Overtake to get into the site right now, and only 40 seconds remaining. They're going to have to take some pretty aggressive gunfights here. And so far, Sway has come out on top of those. Granted, it has just been Rennie who's been finding any sort of action, but looks like Tycho very close to finding an engagement here, and will take the fight, winning it out over Metronome. That's the Habana down, so those last two pellets aren't even going to be used. Clara does find a refrag onto Rennie, though, so at very least, you found that one. I mean, the Fenrir mines are going to make this so difficult to approach. Less than 10 seconds remaining in the round. Bingus is taken out of the picture, but Peaches finding the last two players in the final moments of the round, and Sway on the board early.
Yeah, I mean, not really a chance there for Overtake to really bring back that round. I think once the wall was not really completely open, thanks to Rennie using an impact on, I believe, most of the Habana pellets that were using the wall, meaning that they were kind of very limited already in their options in terms of what they could accomplish with the hard breach. But also, it kind of just made it so that they couldn't fully open up the wall. You had two Habana pellets left by the time that those holes were made into the wall, meaning that there's really nothing you can do to like make that wall any more mobile, really. So for Overtake, they didn't have a really good way inside of the site apart from walking down 90, which is really hard to do, especially if you have a good setup around that area of the map, which Sway did. And yeah, Overtake's options very limited once those first two kills happened. And also, yeah, that's really about it. I was gonna mention like it's kind of interesting too. Towards the end of that round, the smoke grenades went like really, really deep towards the wall that Overtake couldn't get into. So honestly, if they kind of gotten, if they would have been able to get a plant down after dealing with a 90 player, they probably would have been able to do so. Maybe off the doorway or something. But you know, Sway did not let that happen. Very solid round from them.
Indeed, it was. And indeed, they did not. Pretty different look here for Sway on the defense. Obviously, moving to a new bomb site will do that, but Peaches remains on the Fenrir. This operator's so oppressive, so good at holding space here on Fortress, and I mean, expect to see this operator a lot throughout really any competition before, and what feels like an inevitable nerf to this character. But in the meantime, very interesting operator selection of the Brava here from Metronome. I don't hate it, honestly. I think it's a pretty solid pick. It's just a matter of keeping those drones alive for as long as possible.
Yeah, I think based off of what we saw in that first round, the Elo mine on the doorway, which kind of kick-started those two kills for Rennie off of the commander's doorway or commander's office doorway. You kind of understand now that Sway are going to have a trap-heavy lineup. It wasn't even just the LS presence, but also they noted that the Denari was on the board. They've noted that the Fenrir was on the board as well. So bringing more operators that can deal with that trap is very welcome here for Overtake. And also combine that with the Twitch, that means you kind of really have no excuse when it comes to dealing with these trap operators now.
Yeah, this Twitch is putting in a really great amount of work as well. That drone, I think, single-handedly just took out like 4 gadgets and a pipe on the wall. Like, insane amount of value from that operator here. And early pick here coming out from Overtake. Rot finds Tycho. And Fawn with the pick onto Cass through like a ridiculous angle. Rennie does get one back, but it's a really solid start in this particular round from Overtake.
Yeah, they got Old Tower side. They've been able to get the wall open too. They've really gotten a ton of map control in this round. Bingus does get a kill, but immediately is traded out at the moment. Like, where is Rennie and Peaches' position? Peaches is not really in a spot to deny any sort of plant. Rennie's trying to do a flank over by the dormitory hall, though, so this could create some issues for Overtake.
Very well could, but with the cameras going the way of Overtake, it might be ready. 2 with the nitro. Are you serious right now? That's exactly what they needed to keep themselves contentious in this round, and now Metronome in a 1 versus 2 doesn't seem to have knowledge. Did not see Peaches. There's no way. Oh, and Peaches gets the final kill. What a play from the last 2 members of Sway, especially Rennie with that nitro. I mean, that had to have been from the first floor.
No, it was from dormitory hall.
Oh, so, no, you're totally right.
Yeah, so totally right. Yes, so she flanked earlier from bathroom side, went dormitory hall, went into the dormitory itself, and then just threw a nitro cell over the rotate next to the pool table. So you know what? It might just be a rainy day today because it
might be.
Impact in the very first round getting a 3K, and then in the very next is able to kind of recover that round from Sway, for Sway after they lost the opening 2 picks and a ton of map control and a bunch of utility to help him kind of keep that map control on the Old Tower side, and as well as keeping the dormitory wall closed too. So yeah, you know what? Rennie's finding some huge impact, and in thanks to her, really, Sway's got like 2 rounds on the board of this defensive fortress, and looking a lot better than maybe just on the OPO paper project in season 2.
Yeah, Absolutely. I mean, a great start to the defensive half here
10 seconds
for
to insertion.
Sway as we go into our third round. Down to the first
5
floor we
seconds to
go. Obviously, neither of the upstairs sites are going to be an option for them after they
Attackers
won
are
the
heading
first
out to
two,
defuse a
but
bomb.
down we go. And interestingly enough, we see some operators that well, one operator in particular, I suppose, that we don't get to see super often, and that's Peaches on the dock, who, ever since losing that ACOG, has kind of dropped off the face of the earth in terms of relevance and playtime at any sort of competitive level. But here in Project Luna, the Doctor will be making his appearance for the first time in quite some time. Meanwhile, other picks include the honestly fully expected Solus. I figured this was going to come out from Bingus at some point. This is an operator that she just very much enjoys playing, and just not shocking in the slightest. Vaughn very nearly taken down here, and Sierra is going to be the first victim. Rennie just putting out so much value for Sway so far in this map.
Yeah, and Rennie was not Rennie, but rather Sierra, I think was, I don't even know if they were on the window, if they were near the wall, if they were in the hallway, I can't tell. But either way, that's kind of like one of the powerful lurk operators dealt with. And also Bingus actually goes down too. I think Sway really wanted to hard hold on the top floor because you never really play a Solus just directly on the top floor above the site unless you plan to hold it for as long as possible.
Yeah, immediately though, immediately as we're talking about how well Sway are doing in this particular round here, it starts going south a little bit. Cassiopeia finds one back onto her former teammate of mine, but Rot's gonna get the trade, so it's a 1 versus 3 for the Doc. Diffuser is not in anyone's hands right now, interestingly enough. Overtake having to either hunt down the Doc or get a Diffuser down, but Fawn is gonna get knocked onto the ground. Will likely be picked up. In fact, yeah, that's exactly what that animation is. Peaches has to play this one extremely carefully, especially considering Metronome now has the Diffuser in hand. Drone has definitely spotted her out, so a sticky situation to be sure. They have a very good idea of where she is, and the vertical is just perfect. Rot has the angle she needs, and just like that, finally Overtake her on the board.
Yeah, it's a good top floor clear from Overtake, and I really liked how carefully they played the 3v1 in that situation, just kind of waited for more info before they kind of like just bum rushed the site, and they also just didn't even really have to. They kind of used the vert quite well in order to really confirm that round for themselves. And it's not really finally that they get a round where they get like some sort of like opening pick or something like that. They didn't even get the opening pick. Actually, they've kind of been like the worst team in this series to have the opening pick go against them. Both times it's been ready for Sway to get that opening pick in their favor. And Overtake have kind of just been on the back foot up until round number 3, which, you know, at the end of it, we get our last couple of odd bans, which is the Grim and the Fenrir, which is very interesting. Grim has been kind of a consistent presence for Overtake, and so as well for Fenrir being a consistent presence as well for Sway. I think I highlighted earlier how much they really love playing trap operators, and it's not going to change around number 4 because they brought 2 of them.
Yeah, not surprising. If you know these players, you know that they love their trap ops. I am a little bit curious as to the clash selection from Cass here, though. This is an operator that she will play every so often, but I just want to know where she's positioning on this particular bomb site. So we'll see very shortly here where that is. In the meantime, Bingus back on the Azami, Rennie back on the Valkyrie that has served her so well thus far in this series. And over on the opposite side of the server, we see Overtake walking out with the new operator, Solid Snake.
Yeah, and the thing about Fortress that's kind of like underrated, it's not really underrated, but I don't really see a ton of teams utilize these information operators like Deimos and now Solid Snake. Verticality on this map is very, very common, especially on some of the hot spots where the defenders like to usually play in. You can create some good cutoffs for roamers that are extending across the second floor just from the vert alone, or even just kind of remove some really good power spots just from vertical too. So, that's something that you can do. Not really, I guess, with the solid state because you have to be on the same floor to realize where these players are, but you can most definitely do that with Deimos.
Absolutely. Several operators that are amazing at locking down the positions of defenders here. I'm very keen to see how this one plays out, especially with Sway going down so early. Not Sway, Cassiopeia in particular. Mine taken down by the former teammate. Revenge for the previous round almost, but minute 40 remaining. Did that clash shield get like placed down somewhere? Did a bullet sneak around it?
Oh, maybe I think Cass was trying to like rotate to dorm sides to help like retain control of that side of the map, and maybe just cut off on like some sort of ugly timing just from the dormitory hallway window. Metro also finds a kill onto Bingus playing inside of Horse, I believe, and Peaches finds 2 with the Scorpion just flanking down the hallway. So just as quickly as Overtake get that man advantage, Sway gets 2 back through Peaches.
Yeah, and you'll take that every day of the week. 2 Scorpions in the hands of Sway right now, but it is Peaches to find the 2 extremely valuable kills that send Overtake down to an even 3 versus 3 with just under a minute left. Now, without their shield in Fawn, it becomes slightly harder for them to engage into this one, but definitely not impossible. We've seen some great shots so far from Rot, from Metronome, and one amazingly timed shot from Mine that opened this round wide up, but an early knock onto Metronome definitely hinders the speed at which Overtake is going to be able to get in on this one. There's only 20 seconds left. I don't even think you have time to worry about picking up your teammate. You just got to go. But with Mine going down, it's literally just up to Rot, and gets shot down by Peaches, answering Rennie's MVP performance so far with a 3K round of her own. Sway now putting themselves up to 3 round wins on the half.
Yeah, and it's just Peaches as well, just finding some really good individual impact in that round too, just like how you mentioned, flanking down Dormitory Hall once Sway lost that early pick onto the Clash, and just finding two picks on that extension that they were trying to hold on to, but they had to fall off early because of what happened to the Clash. She just took the round into her own hands and just kind of like stopped that Dormitory take. Not really stopped it, but slowed it down so much to the point that Overtake had to try and like find other avenues of success. Also, again, they didn't really have a good way of really entering the site. They had to go down 90 again because they didn't have a hard breacher in that round to break open the bathroom wall too. So, like, I just think maybe on second floor, specifically for the bathroom and commander site, maybe the issue that Overtake are kind of like running into maybe is that like Sway are just kind of, they're getting aggressive at the right times and it's catching them off guard, but also they don't really have a ton of options to give themselves when attacking the bathroom site. Luckily for them, Sway can't go there anymore. So you could try and go back to the other second floor site that they had a little bit more success on. Probably the round that they should have won, where Rennie got a 2K with the Nitro Cell to stop the execute from succeeding for them.
Yeah, I am curious to see what the adaptations here from Sway are, because obviously, it's as you say, they were kind of bailed out by Rennie getting a 2K with the Nitro, seemingly out of nowhere, but realistically, oh, that is really unfortunate for Metronome there. Just that angle was being watched. Bingus managing to find her second kill of the map here. Her second of what I assume will be many, many more, because she's kind of crazy in the game. Excellent Kaid trick there. Those are not easy to pull off, but there goes one of the hard breach charges for Fawn. And I don't think that one's going to happen in time, though.
No.
Yeah. So that one's opened up. And now Mine finds a pick onto Bingus, so it's an even 4v4. Rennie goes down as well, so despite losing out on numbers early, they are looking pretty good right now, Overtake. And I'm starting to get a slight sense of deja vu here, but this time around, Rennie's dead. There are no C4s on the board for Sway. Just a couple of operators who've already placed down their barbed wire. Meanwhile, Rot still has 2 flashbang grenades that could very easily swing this in their favor.
Yeah, Cassiopeia doesn't really have like a ton of options of where she can play, to be fair, with the class shield, with the wall being open neither. Actually, you could play a little bit further back, and this kind of gives you access over like some of the crucial plant spots that Overtake needs. So maybe they're not actually going to attack on Dormitory side. Actually, they're flipping to Old Tower side to attack directly into the games room. This gives them the opportunity to actually isolate Tycho, that's playing inside the games room area. And they have plenty of time to figure out how they really want to interact with this player because they know exactly where Tycho is.
Yeah. Tycho's positioning slightly difficult for her to play out of, but a very capable player she is. Our lone German player in the tournament, but I mean, now she's the lone player on her team here. Manages to find the first kill onto Rot, and that's a great shot, but won't be able to find a second. Fawn coming from behind on a great angle. Is able to clean that one up, and this time around, Overtake, they make up for past mistakes.
Yeah, even though they lose the opening pick again, I mean, they kind of like redeemed themselves a little bit. They found like some really cool kills, but also like the real work 3v2 in that moment didn't really overcomplicate it. And just really found like the map control that they needed. They did some pulling over by game side, and then they had like somebody just flank over by dormitory side. It's a pretty simple thing that they did. They take a timeout based off of the round that they won, probably to figure out like what type of plan do they have going into their defensive half. And I think even if you get like 2 rounds on the attack here of Fortress, this should give you enough confidence going into your defensive half that you can quite literally recover it, but they want to tie the half here. That's why I'm assuming that they've just taken this time out.
Yeah, I think this is a really great time for them to be using that timeout. Typically, I am a proponent of using that earlier than later. I have seen teams time out when the other team has 6 rounds, and that is way too late. You need to start having conversations about what's going wrong way before the other team is on match point. So I do like this going into the last round of the half for Overtake. It's as you said earlier, this is a very defender heavy map, right? So if Sway only managed to get 3 rounds out of this one, Overtake goes into the second half with a pretty massive advantage.
Yeah, they do, and you kind of have to wonder too. Like, I don't know what Sway's attacking half is going to look like. I imagine that they probably have some good ideas. And Overtake's attacking half hasn't been like you could tell they've kind of like struggled a little bit, which is normal for Fortress, unfortunately, just because this map is so defender sided. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that's probably going to be the same for Sway, and it's not because like their ideas just aren't good enough or anything like that. It's quite literally just because Fortress currently is really, really, really hard to attack into, especially when you have like 2 of the main hard breachers banned on this map. It's super hard to break open. So that's just something both teams are going to have to navigate into, because I imagine that Overtake, once they get into their defensive half, that they're going to ban probably a Thermite and an Ace, or maybe even like Habana or something.
It's very, very possible. Unfortunately, it looks like we have a game crash here. That is extremely unfortunate timing. Not sure how we're going to deal with that one, but it seems like the rest of Overtake is just looking to play this one out for now, so good on them at very least. Now, this Flores pick is very interesting because these Ruteros are obviously extremely good at clearing the way in terms of getting rid of utility that is detrimental to your team's approach here, but so far it's mostly just been used on barbed wire. You can, I think it's taken out 1 of the Azami barricades, and will likely be used to take out another one here. But it is still a matter of just clearing everything possible before going in with this one. And it does look like they will have the opportunity to use every single one of those drones, which is very, very good for Overtake.
Yeah. Also, like, kind of sucks here for Overtake, and I don't mean to be really negative. Is the fact that I believe Fawn had like the only set of hard breach charges, unless this is a glitch in the UI. Mine actually on the other side. 2 opening picks here for Overtake.
Yep.
That is very good. That's
big.
Tycho, who's usually like playing in the middle of the game side, that could pose an
what are we
issue
doing?
for Overtake when it comes to like how they want to enter the site. Oh my god, they're gonna.
Okay, so Peaches gets one back, and that's really good for them, considering, I mean, Fawn getting disconnected is tough for them, for sure. They could potentially be in a 3v2 right now, but instead, a 2 versus 2, now active, because Rennie and Peaches, the 2 gunners for Sway thus far, have been hitting gorgeous shots. Now Mine and Rot left in a 1 versus 2. The barricade's activated again. The gate is there once again, and that's going to make it so much harder to get in on this one. No more grenades, no more drones to break through that one. If you want to get through that, you have to just walk through it, and taking damage against these 2 is scary.
Also, it's going to be really hard to initiate a plant. Rot is over
my God.
Side. But, I mean, she just walks straight on in, and she almost gets a second after taking care of Peaches. 10 seconds left. Mine is very possible to clutch this, but she can't use the adrenaline surge in time to pick herself up. Rennie, who's been impactful the whole entire defensive half, is able to clutch out a 1v2 for Sway to give them a lead going into their attacking half.
And that's so huge. That is so massive. Going into that one 3-3 could potentially have been disastrous for the side of Sway. But instead, it is as you say, they are going into this one with a lead. And now all they got to do is win 3 more rounds. And they've got their first map win of Project Luna Season 2. Fenrir and Snake off the board right off the bat.
Ooh, wait, what? Solid Snake.
Solid Snake and Deimos.
Wow. Oh, both Intel ops. Okay, that's interesting. That means that Sway has a ton of options in terms of hard breaching on this map. Fortress without any sort of hard breach, I can understand why this map can be like super defender sided, because like I've watched SI26. I think that was one of the main reasons why it was like really bad to like attack on, mainly because I don't think at that point teams had it totally figured out. But also, like, your access to hard breach can be very limited in tier 1 games compared to like below that. So
yeah,
when I watched Fortress, a lot of teams had a lot of issues just not only just entering the map, but making a good pathway for them inside of the sites to figure out where the good default plants were. So it'll be very interesting to see how Sway perform with every hard breach option available. But also both hard breach now options being available for Overtake 2, and they play one of them in the very first round.
10 seconds left.
Indeed. Up to the top floor we go. This has very quickly become the bomb site that I think most people would agree is by far the best for the defenders, which is I don't think I've ever seen a game on Border not start here. Like, a half will usually be here to begin with, but getting into this one at long last, I think that there are a couple players that I really want to highlight here for Overtake, because despite the fact that they go 4-2 in the first half, I mean, I think Mine is playing very well, Rot is playing very well, and Fawn managing to find a pick there onto Rennie super early in the round. I was literally about to highlight Fawn, and then she goes and does that. Well played from the Solus, just right off the bat, making this so much better of a situation for her team.
Rennie's so bad at that, I could tell. oh, she's so pissed.
She's probably...
She just got... It was like, it's a crazy move, but also, I mean, like right on that swing as well. That's a pin to rim that's really important for clearing that resistance that command office. Peaches actually goes down before.
Peaches does not go down. Peaches takes them down.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. You know, word salad. Words are hard. Casters have the hardest job in the world. No, we don't. 4 versus 3 now for Sway. But Cassiopeia the shield for the team is very, very hurt right now. Taking a lot of damage early in the round and taking a little bit more from that impact, but not enough to take her out of the equation. Mine, Rot, and Fawn all still full health, by the way, so not going to be particularly easy to get in on this one, but with Tycho finding a pick on the Fawn, that is so massive. 2 players remain for Overtake, but I mean, it has been 2 of the big guns for the team thus far. Mine currently on this vigil, and Rot playing the bandit. Theoretically, this one should be a round win for Sway, but these 2 can turn it. Mine can turn it. It's possible. I've seen crazier things happen, but it's going to be a 1 versus 4, and one of those players is a shield operator. Makes it a whole lot more difficult. SMG in hand. Diffuser going down from Cass, and can't land the first shot. Bingus. Been a little bit quiet this map, but landing a gorgeous shot there to open the second half with a round win.
Yeah, and that extension from Overtake, like while they did do a very good job of finding the opening pick onto Radionet Grim, the one thing that kind of like seemed evident to me is that they didn't really have any good fallback options. I mean, the bathroom wall was already like closed up. The players that were in Commander's office also had head holes on the wall right next to the bathroom wall where the rotate would usually be. So they can't really escape or find a way to leave. They can only really leave through like 90. And they just chose to kind of like stay and fight, which is fair. I think they just wanted to waste a couple more minutes. But they also maybe just went a little bit a tad too aggressive, fighting into the guns of Sway, who were clearly super duper hot going into this attacking cav. That means that those 2 players that were originally on that roam kind of just give up a ton of map control over to Sway, who were able to convert that into like an easy round win. I mean, I like the way that they kind of like slowed the round down during the middle part of it, giving themselves a chance to really figure out how they really wanted to execute. They couldn't open up bathroom wall, so they took map control over by Horse instead. They split the last 2 defenders apart, which makes it super duper easy in the 2v4 for them. Yeah, a good round from Sway, and they're 1 round away from actually being on match point, which is huge for them. They're towards the bottom half of the table. Overtake have not lost a game, but this might be the first day that they lose a game in season 2 of Project Luna.
It is distinctly possible, but nothing is guaranteed quite yet for Sway because, I mean, it is, as you say, this map is extremely statistically defender favored, but at least thus far in this half, Sway, they don't really seem to care that much. The first round went their way, I'd say pretty definitively. I mean, only getting 1 pick is really, really rough for Overtake, but I mean, I've said it before, I'll say it again. These players are all capable of hitting crazy shots that turn the momentum of a given round at any given moment. I've highlighted Mine and Rot and Fawn. Metronome struggling a little bit in the kill department right now, but also a very good player, and I am very curious to see if and how this Scopos pick ends up affecting the game and the round that we are currently in. A very fascinating operator, Scopos.
Yeah, with Scopos, you have a ton of options for flanks. If you know, the attack doesn't really know about them. But also, you could place those shields anywhere and give yourself like a ton of info where the attack is coming from. You can swing off of the shield. You can use the shield that the Scopo has as like a impromptu deployable shield. And you also have a good AR. Sway are taking map control quite fast here, actually. I say quite fast, it's already a minute past, but they're in the map. They haven't really had to fight a ton of people, though a lot of players are taking a ton of damage.
Almost a 1-4-1, but Rennie stays alive, is knocked, but gets picked up by teammates. So extremely winnable situation for Sway. The problem is that most of their players have taken a fair bit of damage at this point. Meanwhile, Overtake all fully healthy. Another knock for Overtake, but not a full kill as Bingus is down on the ground, but will be picked up. In the meantime, though, Sway just continues to find kills. Fawn's dead. Mine's dead. It's down to Metronome and Rot, and at least Rot's able to find one. Metronome finding another. Tycho finding the pick on the Rot, but it's not going to be enough. Metronome finds a few beautiful shots, but the round goes Sway's way anyway, and that is going to put them on match point.
Yeah, Sway just have the players to show up when it totally matters the most. The fragging department has been favoring Sway since the start of this game. I've mentioned it like a couple of times, but like they have been great in terms of their opening picking, in terms of like their opening pick success. It's varying across like all of the players on this team, but that's a really good thing. Everybody's just kind of like really good at getting good opening picks, specifically either Rennie or Peaches on this team. And Overtake have kind of been struggling on that department. They've kind of like lost a lot of map control at this point. They tried to play like a retake scenario over by the bathroom and 90 hall area, and they just got like completely smoked because like Sway were just super duper patient, waiting for any aggression that Overtake might do. They didn't execute yet, which is kind of like what Overtake were hoping that they would do, which is why Fawn was on the other side of the half wall, right next to the default plant spot, hoping that they would be able to execute and like find a pick off of that contact or something. That didn't happen for them. So Sway get their 6th round in a row after being patient for Overtake's aggression and just fully holding for it. That's something that, you know, Sway have been very good at tempering their own aggression. They've been really good, not just with managing time, but also just slowing the mid-round down to force Overtake to make mistakes. And that's been happening throughout the whole entire game. That's why they're on match point, because right literally they kind of have been the better team. They look so organized right now.
And this looks like a completely different team from what we saw in the opening matches of Season 2. 1 round away from taking the win over Overtake. And not quite overtaking their spot in the leaderboard, considering Sway would be moving to 1 and 2, and Overtake would be moving to 2 and 1, but it's a start, right? And that's exactly what you need if you are Sway, because at this stage, the first two play days were rough, and you need to start turning it around real quick if you're Sway. And this would be a phenomenal way to do so! Are you kidding me, Peaches? Catching Fawn, looking away at the perfectly wrong moment. That's so tragic for Overtake. Down a player so early to such a simple mistake. And there's a gap in the observation block that they know where this warden is. But I'm in danger. Couple players swinging through this one. They know exactly where several players are, and down goes the Aruni. Peaches is traded out by Mine, who also finds Bingus. Metronome with a beautiful shotgun blast onto 3 players. And oh my god, what a momentum swing.
Yeah, I'm not even really too sure what happened there for Sway in terms of like what like their organization, how that whole round broke down against them, but like I will say, like, they had, like, a really good advantage going into that round. They kind of had the Warden pin. You kind of saw, like, the Warden was looking behind them, not rotating back to games because he could obviously get cut off from the O Tower window. I just think maybe, like, at least for Overtake, they had, like, players just kind of, like, show up in the right places, maybe get rid of the player that was on the outside of the O Tower window that was holding that cutoff for Warden, and then they were able to support them on the O Tower side. They still really wanted to fight for that side of the map. The support around the Warden came super duper quickly, allowing Metronome to just play her spot the way that she wanted to, which is super duper aggressive. And we're saying they get their 3rd round. Is it possible that they could make a comeback on the Fortress defensive side? Maybe it is. Most definitely possible. I will say that because this map is ridiculously hard to attack on. But both teams have shown that they are capable of doing that. So we'll see.
Indeed, they are. Now, the problem with an Overtake comeback at this point is the fact that some of the sites on this map, as is the case with many maps in Siege, are less favorable for defenders than others, you know? Sometimes you just are forced to play a worse site because, obviously, when you win a site, you can't go there for the next 2 rounds. And now, we're downstairs. this is a
10 seconds
very,
left.
very doable situation for Sway. They just need to find one more round
5
win
seconds
on
left
one of
before
these
insertion.
potentially weaker sites on the first floor. Question is, how are they going to do
Locate and
that?
defuse a bomb.
Right now, they're showing a pretty interesting comp. I'm not sure what I think of this pick from Bingus, though. Bingus is on a Glads, which is an operator we don't get to see a ton of on really in like a lot of levels of organized play, but every so
The
often
attacker's bomb
he
has
is
been dropped.
a pretty solid operator.
There was like at one point where Glass was like one of the best like entry operators, and yes, I do mean entries, just because like for like just to simply explain it, not a lot of teams are gonna pick like Warden on their defense, and it's very easy to take space with smokes because like you have a DMR, Glass can see past the smokes. If you're on the defensive side, you're not really gonna challenge the smokes just because there's a possibility that Glass could be on the other side. The only thing that teams usually can do to counter a Glass, and that's kind of been like a consistent counter, is like nitroing the smoke, but maybe the Glass will catch you on that sense. But yeah, Glass is like a free space taking operator just because some teams are just so scared to challenge a smoke, which is fair. You don't want to give away a pick. They're doing like a take on the main side of the map, the lobby side of the map, just because this space has been given to them. This is quite early this has happened.
The wall's open. They're going for the plant
Yep.
here. Cassiopeia
Nobody's
getting this one
counting it.
down. Does get shot before the diffuser is fully planted, though. So it's a 1-for-1 trade. Metronome also finding a pick with the usage of the Nitro Cell. A couple more trades go out, and ultimately this ends being a 2 versus 1. Peaches finding the kill with the SMG, and that will do it. It's over. Sway, they make the roster change. They come into the Playday number 3, and they say, fuck your standings. We're taking our first win.
And also, off of the back of Peaches and Rennie, both of these players have been so influential since the start of the game. Rennie started off the whole game with a 3K, was influential throughout their whole defensive half. And even though Rennie was like 5-1 at one point, Peaches was 3-3 at another point. Peaches found herself towards the top of the scoreboard by the end of the game anyways, just because she, again, just found so many rounds where she was getting multi-kill after multi-kill after multi-kill. So yeah, both of those players, Rennie and Peaches, top of the scoreboard, and for a very good reason, just because both of them had impact rounds with the multi-kills consistently, and it was just probably a little bit too overwhelming for Overtake. Good win for Sway. It's their first win of the season, and for them, it has to be a good feeling because of their really poor start to the season 2 of Project Luna.
Yeah, they are definitely going to be walking away from this one with their heads held high. I'm sure I'm going to be hearing about it later tonight, but goodness me, what a map. What a game coming out from Rennie and Peaches in particular. And I mean, just beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff. Of course, I mean, we can't overlook Overtake, who obviously they go down here, but extremely capable team, and we saw flashes of that not only today but in their first 2 matches where they won both of them pretty definitively. So don't count them out quite yet either. I do not expect them to fall out of top 4 before playoffs arrive. I think they are absolutely going to be in the playoffs, be a contender for the grand finals, but Sway have just opened everyone's eyes. This is definitely a team to watch out for.
Yeah, just good consistent teamwork throughout the whole game. Like, yeah, Peaches and Rennie were towards the top of the table, but they also just had like some really good mid-round calls, especially on their attacking side too. Where they were just like really good at like punishing aggression from Overtake, where they were genuinely just waiting for them and like slowing down the round, waiting for them to swing them on their attacking half a lot of the time, just so that they could like win the round based off of that, and just like get some easy gunfights going in their favor. So yeah, like good win for Sway, and a good day for Project Luna in general. Like I was pretty happy with today.
Yeah. I am unaware if we have another match after this one. Okay, we do not. All right. Thank you for clarification on that one, Chloe. Much appreciated. Big shout outs, by the way, to Chloe for the production today and Painless for the obs. huge thanks to them. Obviously, without the work of the behind the scenes crew, the show cannot go on. We are just the faces you see. We are not the only people involved in this one. So big shouts to them. Big shouts to everybody at Project Luna for putting this one on. Big shouts to Sway for taking the win in this particular series. And on that note, Chaka, you got anything else to say to the people?
Nope, just a really good day of Siege.
Love to hear it. Have a good day, everybody.